Hello guys, we've got Aid in the chat. Hi there, Aid. So yeah, I'm a little bit earlier today, but you know me, I mean, I'm always early. But some weeks over the past few weeks have been a little bit, you know, sort of, what's the expression? What's the expression? Close to the call or something. But I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of a different expression, but I can't think of it anyway. But you know what I mean. You know, right close to the action. About 12:59, 12:58. So I like to make sure I'm early. You know, it was Shakespeare who said, and I've quoted this before. Shakespeare said, obviously, it's better to be 3 hours too early than a minute too late. So I try and live by that as best I can. So instead of getting here at 1 o'clock, I get here at 12:49. But anyway, we will get on with it. I'll just wait for a couple more people to join in the chat. I know I had Aid in there a second ago. I'll just flick off this screen here. We've got Forge Your Own Path. God damn it, I meant to get my lunch before this started. I know a few people are like that. A few people say like, oh, I need to get lunch before Thursday talks and stuff, because I think we watch it with the lunch or something. I'm not sure, but so were you going out for lunch or something? Going out grab a sandwich, or well, you mustn't have a packed lunch or anything actually if you need to go and get it. But yeah, so so today there isn't a topic. Well, there isn't a topic on the title, but there is actually a little bit of a topic I wanted to discuss, because it's something that has been talked about on Instagram, talked about on, I've had a few conversations with people about it recently. It's been talked about on Facebook. So that is comparison. So actually comparing yourself to other resellers. So I did want to touch on that a little bit, but we'll wait to get a few people in here. Death by Glamour's in. Hi there. I have seen you in quite a lot of the other reseller chats, and I could never think when this past few days, when I was seeing you in all the other chats, I could never think, does Death by Glamour watch Thursday Talks? Because I couldn't remember whether I've seen you in the chat or not. We've got Lobster Pot in. I don't think I've seen that name before, so hi if you're new to the stream. We've got Doing It Yourself Lifestyle. We've got Steve Green. We've got I think I said Leslie. Hi Ad, Steve says hi there. We've got Mark in, who is again quite a usual now. Fishing Man's jump on ads. No, it's not. Well, I suppose it's got the style of it, hasn't it? But it's not really the colour. You know, like if it was a fishing one, it'd be kind of more green. This is just like a navy blue. But I can see what you mean. Definitely, this top part kind of looks like it. You know, the style. But I quite like them. You know what I wanted to get, and people are going to think I'm really old now, but I want to get some corduroy trousers. You know, like those slightly green ones, you know. I don't know what colour it would be. I don't want to say a mould green, because that just sounds really bad, but there'll be an actual shade of green that it's called. It won't be called mould green, but that's what I'm trying to illustrate, you know, that kind of dark green. It's not a forest green, but it's kind of just a slightly off green, and I do quite like that. So I would like some trousers, actually, some corduroys. We've got Death by Glamour said your song gained you more fans. Oh, have you have you joined recently in the chats and stuff? I suppose so. I don't know if it gained fans or lost fans, but it certainly did well anyway. I think it's not far off about 850 views or something now, so I was quite happy with that. Obviously people may have rewatched it or something. To be honest, I watched it about 3 times when it was on YouTube, so you know that we can take 3 views off automatically. But no, that did really well. I was really happy, because I thought, oh, is this gonna do well? Or, you know, in terms of views directly, I knew it was gonna be a bit of a mixed response anyway, like in terms of what people thought. Generally, I think most people got the gist of it though, which I was really happy about. But yeah, we'll see. I'm just going to let it kind of, is the right word gestate? I don't know whether that's the right word, but basically just sort of let it kind of go away for a while, sort of, as I say, gestate on my channel for a while, and we'll see in a year or so whether it's become a little bit of a cult classic. Well, I suppose it takes a lot longer than a year for something to become cult classic, but maybe on YouTube it doesn't take as long. I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe after a couple of years, we'll see if it's become a bit of a cult classic. But it's quite funny, because I was actually, when I did the tags for it, published it, I was actually ranking for really good tags. Like I was ranking for, so when anyone typed in eBay song in the first 48 hours of the video being up, I was ranking like 5 or 6 for that search term. So that was really good. Like, yeah, it was pretty cool. So I was happy with that. So we got Sean in. Hi there, Sean. Very entertaining video. They bring it up in other selling videos. I watch you and Z should do. You and Z should do one together. Oh, do you mean the song, or do you mean just generally my channel? I'm not sure, but I've not. The problem is, over the last 6 months or so, I've not really been watching reselling videos. So you may have seen me in the chat a little bit more of other reselling videos over the last week or so, because I've been making a conscious effort to kind of get myself back in the community, because I feel like although I've been doing videos and everything, and you know, I've been serving people in that way in the regard of, you know, doing the sales updates and stuff, I felt like quite disconnected with, you know, with my subscribers and stuff, because over the past 6 months, as I say, I've not been in the reseller chats because I've been just watching other YouTube videos, you know, not necessarily reselling ones. So I do want to get back to being in the chat, you know, involved in the chats more. Not necessarily on the live chats, I may do that, but I mean just even being in the chat and talking to people in the chat. Because, you know, you get to know the people who follow you and stuff a lot better. Like, I know a lot of the regulars, but there's probably a lot more people who've jumped on board with my channel in the last 6 months that I don't even know. They don't even comment. They don't, you know, they might like the videos or whatever, but I just generally don't know. So it would be nice to connect with those guys as well. But if people aren't commenting, then you can't really connect with them anyway. But, so comparison today. So what do I mean by comparison? Well, actually, I've just seen a question from Do It Yourself Lifestyle, so I think I might answer that first. What did your mum and dad say about the song, and why didn't I get a copy, lol? Thought we was bros from... I'm not going to read that out. So, essentially, I've had a very, very hard time of deciding who's going to get the 3 copies. I actually shot myself in the foot with trying to do this, you know, 3 golden copies. I should have made it 5. I should have made it 5, but I don't want to go back on my word now. So what I'm going to do is I might actually do a separate couple of exclusive limited edition rare copies that are a single rare copy. So they're not going to be golden copies. They're going to be 2 more limited edition copies. That's what I'm thinking at some point. But I've shot myself in the foot because I want to give them to I want to give these 3 copies to about 6 people. And I'm like, oh, God, well, I just can't. I've shot myself in the foot doing it. So, yeah, I'm going to have to maybe remove 1 or 2 of the people off the list, unfortunately. I'm going to have to hope that they are okay with that, but I suppose we won't ever find out anyway. But you know, it's that thing of you'll know in your brain. You think, oh no, I hate the fact that I can't please everyone, because there's about 6 people who I know will absolutely love these CDs. There's 1 person who I'm going to send it to just because of how much they're involved in the reselling community. You can probably guess who that is, but if you can guess who that is, don't go away and tell them, because they might not know. So yeah, I'm going to do send that to 1 person, and then as I say, I've got about another 4 or 5 people who I know would absolutely love a copy of that song, even if it is just for a laugh, you know. But yeah, so anyway, I will I'll go up the chat and just see if there's any more questions before I get into the topic of what was it? Comparison. Forgetting already. And I realised as well, when I go to look at the comments and I go right near my mic, it kind of makes a really loud noise, so I'm going to try my best to keep the noise down when I'm near the mic. No, it looks like everything. Yeah. It's like everything. Cool. Right, that's everything. So, if I can even speak. Comparison. So what do I... Oh, Peter weighs in. Hi there, Peter. So, I mean by comparison is comparing yourself to other resellers. Now, comparing yourself to other resellers is a good thing and a bad thing, because when you compare yourself to someone else, you are essentially saying that that's what you want to achieve. You want to get to the level that they've got to. And these are just my own thoughts. I'm not, call me out if you think I'm wrong. Praise me if you think I'm right. It doesn't matter. That it's just my opinion, my thoughts on the matter, and I'll go into the chat and hopefully get a few other thoughts from other people as well. But essentially, when you're comparing yourself, as I say, you're essentially stating in your own mind, let's say, and I'm not really thinking of many people when I say this, I'm just kind of formulating an imaginary person in my mind, but let's just take someone, for example, who's doing 5,000 a month, reselling whatever, you know, sort of quite steadily over the slow months, they may be doing like 5,000 or something. I myself, because I'm not a million miles off that, but I'm still quite far off that, I might think to myself, you know, that's great, that's what I want to achieve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the different steps that person has done, right, to get them to 5k turnover. But then what happens within your own mind is you make that decision based on their journey, not on your journey, but on their journey. You're basing the decision of what you want and basically copying everything that they've done to get you to where they are. But actually, if you want to get to where they are, you don't want to become them. You just want to get to the same level of turnover or profit. You don't want to step into their shoes completely and completely hollow out the person you are to do that. And what I mean by this is, let's say that imaginary person is doing, is doing a good amount of turnover, and they're doing it on video games, right? And I don't want to do video games. So if I don't want to do video games, I need to do it in a separate way. You know, I need to essentially, like, what am I trying to say? I need to essentially do it in my own way. I need to do it with ceramics, or I need to do it with, you know, anything else really that I feel I can love. Because let's say video games might not be for me. It might not be the one thing that I really want to do. So if I'm then just copying them and doing it for video games, yes, I might get to that level of turnover, but it won't be my journey anymore. It won't be what I wanted. It won't be what I envisaged for myself to be doing. So therefore, I'll get to that level of turnover, I'll be doing video games, and I'll be thinking to myself, I don't really like this. You know, yeah, I've got to where I want to be in terms of my turnover and my profit, and I'm doing well, and, you know, monetary-wise, I'm doing brilliantly, but something's not right. My journey isn't being fulfilled in the way I want it to be fulfilled in. So then you're comparing yourself to that person, you then become that other person, doing exactly the thing that they're doing, and then what happens, hopefully for a lot of people, is they'll realise at some point, oh, this isn't me. This actually, I do want this level of turnover, but I don't want to go about it in this way. I don't want to sell these types of items, or I don't want to sell on eBay. I want to sell on Amazon, or I don't want to, you know, I maybe want to sell locally or face-to-face. So essentially you want to get to the same point, but you want to do it in a different way. But the problem with comparison is, as I've mentioned, is you actually start to become that other person, and you're not actually thinking, you're not actually making that base decision of getting to that level that you want to get to, which is the sort of the similar level that they're at, but you're not basing that decision off what you want. You're basing it off a blueprint of copying them. So if we take it that maybe, let's say you do want to get to 5 grand turnover, or I want to get to 5 grand turnover, whoever wants to get to 5 grand turnover, you see that person and then you think, right, I want to get to 5 grand turnover. But then what you want to do is, when you're actually comparing, and this is what I've found out over comparison for a very long time, you know, to different sellers, both good and bad comparison in terms of, you know, me making the wrong decision based on, you know, basically their comparison really coming into my decision making, and then making the right decisions, i.e. I'm making more of the decision than the comparison is making the decision out of me, kind of thing. Essentially, you get to the point where you think, right, that person is doing X, Y, and Z. So I don't want to do X and Y, but I think that Z might be for me. So if I maybe focus on this Z thing, let's forget, you know, this guy is selling video games, which is Y, and then this guy is also selling, I don't know, ceramics or something, which is X. But Y, maybe he's selling, I don't know, sealed ink or sealed Lego or whatever. So you focus on that Y, you know, that one product that he's focusing on, but that you've shut out these other two sides. You start focusing on that why, and you start building up your turnover. Things are going well. You're obviously doing something that you want to do that is slightly based on a comparison, but that you're not becoming that person. You're just following your own journey. And then you might think, well, right, I've got why there. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with what I'm doing. So let's try and jump out of jump outside the box a little bit and choose another couple of products that will be sort of my X and my Z. And then you might choose two different products, and then that will get you up to that level of turnover. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that, but I'm trying to make it simple, you know, so then I'm not overcomplicating an analogy. So essentially, you then start to get to that level of turnover, selling the things that you want to sell on the platform that you want to sell in, and then you've used comparison in the right way, because you've basically given someone, you've looked at someone's journey and you've made it inspire you to do the thing that you want to do, but you've not just gone ahead and just copied what they've done and tried to become someone else. You've done it in the right way. You've done it in the right way for you. And let me give another example that's more personal to me, and that is a real life example as well, to help maybe some people who might not understand what I've been talking about. So essentially, a lot of people will say to me, you know, why don't you do higher value items? Why don't you get into maybe £100, £200 items? And for a long time, I've been thinking, yeah, I want to get into higher value items. I want to do, you know, I want to do higher value items. But then you start to think to yourself on a deeper level, and you start thinking to yourself, well, hang on, do I actually want to do higher value items? Or do I want to do higher value items because the people who are telling me to do higher value items, I look up to them and I compare myself to them and I want to be them. So that means that I sort of feel obliged to do higher value items to get to where they are. Now, I don't have to do higher value items to get to where they are. I just need to sell more volume of lower value. So then you start thinking to yourself, well, you know, do I want to sell more volume, more quantity of lower value items? And you start thinking, well, no, I don't want to sell more quantity of lower value items because then I've got a lot more packing to do and all this sort of stuff. So then you have to work out, is there a happy medium? Is there a medium in between? So you do a few higher value, a few lower value, a few mid value, or you do a few lower value and a few mid value, and then you start to really understand yourself, because you're actually analysing the way you're comparing to someone else, and you're saying, no, look, that's maybe what you want, or that's what you can see for me, but that's your kind of future for me. That's not my kind of future for me. So then you start thinking to yourself, well, actually, let's get rid of all these different people who are telling me all these different things. Kind of like there's this big circle of people and they're all shouting things at you, and you're in the middle and you don't even know who you are at that moment because everyone's just flinging things at you, kind of thing. So if you get rid of that for a minute and you just kind of shut people out just for a minute to look at yourself, then you start looking at yourself and you start thinking, well, what do I want? What items do I want to sell? Do I want to sell X? Do I want to sell Y? And that is the moment that you can make a decision based entirely on your own personal journey of where you want to get to. And that is the thing you need to do with comparison, rather than taking everyone's opinion and just going off at entirely what they say. It's important to take people's opinions into account, but the overall decision, especially if it's a big decision, has to come from you. We all know that. So essentially, that's what I've found with comparison. I'm someone who's constantly comparing to other people, and I think that actually, as I've come to this realization, the way for me and maybe other people to get out of comparison is to become selfish, is to actually have a little bit more of that selfishness in your decision making and do something because you want to do it, because that's the right journey for you. And then you can start, you know, letting other people in and giving you tips and stuff, and then basing more decisions slightly more on them as well as on yourself, as well as you having a final decision ultimately. But it's quite interesting anyway. There is no blueprint. That's what I heard at Zahir Malik say once, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, it's funny because we all get caught up in this idea that there's this mysterious plan that, you know, and you see, like, well, maybe not new resellers, but, you know, people who are a little bit less experienced in the journey, a lot of them will come into reselling, and they will kind of think that there's this mysterious plan. Like, there's this way of doing reselling really well. Now, I do think there is something to that effect, but I think people are getting misconstrued a little bit, because they're saying, oh, right, well, what 1 minute, how can you sell that within 2 days and get a really, really good price when I've got the exact same item and I can't sell it within 2 days and I can't get anywhere near that price? Well, I think that people are misconstruing this kind of mysterious idea of, you know, thinking that you're a really good seller or whatever. They're kind of misconstruing that to experience. So essentially, this mysterious ability for a reseller with experience to actually sell something really quickly is only that. It is only experience. Someone who's been selling 1 week, right, for example, for me, I've been doing this for years. I've not been doing it as long as a lot of people, but I'm getting into the stage very slowly over the next year or two where I can start to call myself a bit more of a seasoned reseller. It does not mean anything, really, that term. It still means that I make mistakes. It still means that I'm an idiot at sometimes. It still means that I sometimes mess up my listings or whatever. It still means sometimes I might, I might do something wrong and eBay might give me a kick or whatever. But, you know, I don't mean a kick as in off the platform or anything, but you know what I mean, like a little defect or whatever. Just because you're a seasoned reseller doesn't really mean anything. But at the same time, it does mean one thing. It does mean that you have a certain level of experience. Someone who's been reselling a week, you could literally give me an item, and you could give someone who's been selling a week the same item, and I could probably sell it faster than them. Now that is just based on experience. There's no magic trick. There's no mysterious, oh well, how did you sell that and I didn't sell it? It's literally just because I've had more experience with eBay. It's like, I would know how to keyword it better, so then I can reach a wider audience. I'd know how to do better photos, or, you know, in the main, I would know how to do it better than someone who's just started. Obviously, it really depends on the person and the ability, but in the main, because I've had more experience, I would be better at selling an item, and as I say, I could probably sell it quicker. So that is this kind of thing that people get misconstrued with. It's not that there's this mysterious trick that makes everyone brilliant resellers. It's literally just that over the years, people have got more experience at it. It's like Nick. Nick could probably, you know, having 16 years experience, he could probably look at a certain item and he'd know, sort of, he could pull a rough figure out of the air. I can kind of do that to a certain extent, but I'm betting you because he's had 16 years experience, he can do it 5 times as good. So all it is kind of that experience level. It's just, and you do get to a point, and I am slowly getting to that point where you can, as I just say, like, you can look at an item, and even if it's something that you've never sold before, you can look at it and you can attribute a rough valuation to it that you think you can get. It's very, very odd, especially in the antiques world. That's more so because a lot of items are similar, or, well, a lot of items are different, but in a certain field, like for example glass bottles or stoneware bottles or whatever, a lot of them are similar. So you might not have sold that particular one before, but you know, going off the height of it, and maybe there might be a certain make on there, you know, a certain brand on there that, you know, has more appeal to a certain market. Then obviously you might not have sold it before, but you know there's a certain value there. Again, like things like enamel signs, a certain word on the enamel sign might trigger something in your brain. You might think, oh, that's quite a different sign, Matt. It's a bit of a different word. I've never seen it before, but I know that it's not quite a standard enamel sign. It's actually quite a good one. It might be worth £200 opposed to maybe another one maybe only being worth £75. So you see, it's just this experience again, but and that's something that we compare too much with as well. This experience, so comparing, and Mel has said this quite a lot actually. This comparing, like essentially someone who's been reselling a year will compare themselves to someone who's been reselling 5 years, and it has no logical sense, because someone who's been reselling a year compared to 5 years, that's a huge difference. Anyway, I know the chat is getting on, so I will actually read out a few of your comments. I apologise for rambling, but I really wanted to, I just wanted to get that out, you know. I've been thinking to myself this for a few days now. I really wanted to sort of just get that out to a lot of you guys. Right then, let me have a look. So here's in the chat, really good point. There is only one way to do this. There is, oh, I thought, wait, there is only one way to do it. No, he said there is no one way to do this. Let me get that clear. Since starting reselling, we have dabbled in lots of niches and will continue to try new things. Yeah, and I think that some people think that, like, there's one, and this might be true for a lot of people, I don't know, but some people think there's, like, one niche for them, like Lego or whatever it is, you know, I don't even know, like video games or something. And it might be true to the extent that you love that one niche, like, more than any other niche. But I do think that it's like a journey and it's a progression. So you might, you know, for 5 years you might sell video games and you might love it and it might be brilliant. But then you might start dabbling out into other things, you know, doing a few other things. So I think that it's just this, as you say, Z, this kind of journey, you know, and it's just this progression of doing one thing to another to another. And that's kind of how I look at it a lot more now compared to, I suppose when I started I was looking at it as a journey as well, but like when I look at it now it's kind of like just I'm hopping from selling different items. It's literally like how many items can I sell, like how much wide variety of items can I sell in the next 10 years or 20 years or whatever. I'm just like, and then when I get there I'll be like, oh my god, look at all this information I've got on my channel that I've sold over the last 10-20 years. That's the kind of way I look at it. And it doesn't really matter if I end up getting a job or anything like that, because I'm still going to do reselling. Obviously it'll be a way less you know, kind of way less extent than I'm doing it now. But if I were to get a job, I'd still be doing reselling. I'd still be maybe selling a few items a week, picking up a few items a week. So it's just kind of this journey that's going to be running throughout the next few years of my life, maybe my entire life, I don't know. But it's really interesting, and that's kind of the way I look at it now. It's just kind of this fun dance, that you're just dancing through all these different niches and you're feeling your way through it and you're enjoying it and you're selling all these different random items, and it's just this really nice thing that you enjoy doing, you know. But anyway, I'll just go up the chat again. Oh, Peter, did you have a good break away? I did pop into your live stream, but I didn't stay for very long. Sean says September, October, November, December were my best months last year. Want to double it this year. Any more is a bonus. Need to improve Jan or Jan to August can be quite. I mean, well, January is usually okay, but like that Feb to, well, maybe March. I don't know. Feb, March, it quietens off a little bit, and then March to August, I would say for me is, yeah, it can be a bit choppy. April usually isn't the best for me. May is usually okay, but it can go either way. June, July actually is sometimes really good for me. June is a bit hit or miss. And then August can be quite slow as well, but sometimes it picks up. It really depends on what you're selling. You know, there's no, as people have said in the chat today, there's no blueprint. It depends on what you're selling. But yeah, you can kind of get rough timings. I feel exactly like that ad, being a newbie. How's that? Because I've completely forgot where that comment was in relation to what I was saying. But yeah, I'm assuming you mean when you're comparing to people. I think it is just something that you need to, well, I say you, I mean me, something that I need to just stop doing, you know. It's funny because I'd rather say to you, like honestly, I would rather come to you guys saying, look, guys, I've done £1,000 worth of turnover this month, and you know, I've done £500 profit, instead of coming to you guys and saying, look, I've done £3,000 turnover this month and 1,500 profit. Because if I was doing £3,000 and 1,500 turnover, trying to chase someone else, you know, and their journey, then what's the enjoyment in that? Because it's not really your journey. Whereas if I was doing £1,000 turnover and £500 profit, but doing everything that I wanted to do, selling the things that I wanted to sell, you know, selling on the platforms that I wanted to sell and just living my own journey, then I'd be much more content with that rather than doing a higher amount of money. Of course, we all want to do a higher amount of money, but at the same time, you've got to think to yourself, like, are you just doing a higher amount of money and just trying to keep up with someone else or trying to live their journey? There's on the one hand, you know, it's great to kind of use someone else's motivation alongside your motivation to kind of boost you up a bit of a level. But when you cross that kind of line of just using their motivation to bump you up with them and actually just becoming them and just doing everything they do and living for what they do and selling all the same items and all that, then that's crossing the line. And to me, that's just, you know, you're not living your journey. So I think it's important to just, like, embrace your own journey, embrace what you want to do. And I really do think on closer thought, because everyone's saying, you know, do higher value items and do all these kind of things, it's making me really think, actually what I want is to do a large amount of maybe £10 to £50 items, and I'm happy with that. You know, I don't have any desire really. If I'm speaking for myself now and not from someone saying, oh well, it might be good to grow your business to do higher value items. If I'm speaking for myself, really, I don't have much of a desire to do £200 items, £300 items. To me, doing that level of money, doing that level of money in one single sale, it makes me so so not anxious, but what's the word? Like so scared. Like honestly, it makes me scared because I'm thinking to myself, but what if they return it? If I do, you know, 30 sales to get 300 quid. The chances of me getting all those 30 sales returned are very low. But if I get one sale at 300 quid, the chances of that one sale getting returned could be higher. And if it does get returned, if it does actually get returned, then I've lost 300 quid. But if I only get one sale out of the 30 sales to make 300 quid, £10 a sale, then that's only 10 quid I've lost. You see the way I look at it? So I just like that kind of lower value range, or that lower to mid. Let's say lower to mid. I don't mind selling something for 50 quid, and if it gets returned, it gets returned. But if if I'm getting to that maybe £100, 120, 150, 200, it then starts to think, ooh, you know, it just rubs me up the wrong way. However, I may be saying this now, people change along the course of their lives. In 20 years, I might have my own shop. I might be selling items on a daily basis for £100, £200, £300. I'm not saying to myself, look, this is who I am forever. I'm just going to be selling £10 to £50 items forever. But I'm saying to myself, at the moment, within my journey, that's what I feel the most comfortable doing. That's what I like doing. But maybe in 10 years or so, slowly over a course of new experiences and doing other things, that might change drastically, and I might be in a different place in 10 years to then think to myself, yeah, it is my time to do £400 items. Now, you will notice that I'm probably quite a young reseller in terms of a lot of the community. I'm not the youngest in the community, but I'm very nearly that. And a lot of the other people who are doing higher value items, like I'm meaning like 200, 300, maybe 500 or maybe even 1,000, they're either a little bit older than me or they've been doing it longer than me. So then you start thinking to yourself, well, you know, maybe it's the fact that I need, you know, on my personal journey, I need to do it a little bit, a little bit longer, because I am pretty young at the moment. I'm not as old as these other people. I'm not as maybe not as experienced as these other people. So I need to get that level of experience. I need to slowly work my way through my own path to get to that place where I'm at. But I've identified that at the moment, I'm not at that place in my journey. You know, maybe in 5 or 10 years, as I say, I will be. So it's interesting when you kind of look at it in that way and really speak for yourself instead of speaking based on someone's opinion or someone else's thought of what you want to do with your journey. So anyway, I'll go down the chat again. Be all that you can be to be yourself. Money is just paper in your pocket. Happiness is worth more than money. Very true. nowhere near 85,000 in a 12-month period. Maybe next year. Well, to be honest, Sean, I'd be careful getting up to VAT because I'm not an expert or anything, but I know that a lot of people have said that if you get to about, just over VAT, like 90,000 or something, it's just simply not worth it. You may as well just stay under the VAT threshold. So just be careful when you're looking into VAT and stuff, and it might be best just to stay under it. Don't be thinking that you have to get over VAT or whatever. That's not a necessity really. Let me have a look. I hope you make it, Sean, but eBay reselling isn't freedom. Wait, 1 second. Pete, I've yet to do charity shops. Need to find room in the house. I'll move away from my mic a bit. And start sending more stuff to Amazon Prime. Amazon FBA to make room. I now go to Wilco, Superdrug for small items for Amazon too. I want to follow ads and be comfortable one day. I can give up my employed job and freedom. I will not give up. It's not. Yeah, it's about not giving up. But like in that statement there, you've literally said, "I want to follow ads," and I've just been talking about a comparison. It's fine that you want to follow me, but do it in your own way. Just like for example, let's just take this. I do my thumbnails on Photoshop and I do my editing in Filmora, and I'm hopefully going to move over to Premiere Pro very soon. I need to do some research into it. If you want to follow me, then you've got to take all that as well. You've got to take the Photoshop, you've got to take the Premiere Pro, you've got to take the love of YouTube, you've got to take the research of YouTube. So you see, our journeys aren't the same. Our journeys are completely different. My journey is probably a lot different to most resellers because obviously I do YouTube. Now a lot of resellers do YouTube, but many, probably the vast majority, 90%, don't do YouTube. So therefore my journey is completely different as well. Also, I like investing and things like that. So it's completely different. You have to go on your journey. And you did say right there actually that you get small items from Wilco, Superdrug and stuff. That's completely different because I've never thought of going to Wilkinson's or Superdrug or anything like that to get stock. So that is in one way following your own path. That is in one way trying to do something away from what other people think. So if you just follow doing things like that and just trying to do different things other than what other people say, then that's brilliant. You can get to where you want to get to. And I think there is this distinction between actually copying people and then comparison. So it's kind of fine to take bits and bobs from other people and so to speak copy some of what they do, but when you actually compare and then you're just copying everything that person does, then that's just shifting to their journey kind of thing. But it's fine to add little things, like for example, I would encourage anyone and I would help anyone if they want to learn something like how to do better thumbnails on YouTube. If there's a YouTube reseller out there who wants to learn Photoshop or anything like that to do the thumbnails, I would encourage and help them, and I would give them the skills that I have to aid their journey. But what I wouldn't do is say, look, do it exactly like this, or I wouldn't want them to say to me, oh, I'm just going to do it exactly like this, because it's not really quite their style or their journey. It's kind of, it's just they're basically living in the shadow of myself, and they're not sort of embracing the person that they are. And then when they embrace the person that they are, they become equal to me. They're not living in my shadow, they're equal to me. So it's kind of this thing of living in people's shadows and comparing to other people that can be quite dangerous. And if you do that, like I've done many a time, it can just become, you're kind of not living the life that maybe you want to live, or you don't realize you want to live that certain life until you have this kind of little bit of a mini awakening of, oh right, actually I do want to live this life, but I was kind of living in the shadow of this person, or I was comparing myself too much and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, Ad should stay at his parents to save up for a small house. I already live at my parents. I thought most people knew that. I had to work 16 hours a day for a year to get off private renting. I could, in response to that, I could move out now, but it would be like I've got enough for a deposit. Well, unlike I wouldn't be able to buy like a 200 grand house or whatever, but I could buy like 100 grand, maybe 120, something like that, £1,000 house. So I could get a house. That's what I'm saying. But the two issues is obviously getting a mortgage for self-employed. That's going to be an issue. So what I'd like to do is kind of build up another year or so of accounts, that then I could actually show the bank that obviously, look, I've been doing this a while, I've got steady accounts, I've got growth or whatever over time, and then, that makes it easy to get a mortgage. But also, aside from that, is if I was to use all the money I have now and put it onto a deposit, or the vast majority, because that's what I'd need, then obviously that money goes to the deposit, and then I'm like, oh crap, shit gets real, essentially. I don't normally swear on here, actually, but anyway, S gets real, essentially. And yeah, and then I'm like, oh crap, I've really got to get into gear. I've really got to make this work. Otherwise, I'm basically back where I was. So I have this kind of internal conflict of, if I move out, right now, like at this stage, I could move out, but then I'm thinking, well, I could end up right back here anyway, because if I don't make this work, then I won't have enough to pay a mortgage or whatever, and then something bad's gonna happen. I don't even know, but you probably just get evicted or something. I don't even know how it works, but yeah. So then I'm starting to think, well, if I'm gonna be right back, ended up here anyway, what I should do is spend another year or so here, and then I've got enough money saved up for a deposit, and then I can save a few grand back. So then I've got like, when people change over from part-time reselling to full-time reselling, they quit their job, what they'll generally do is save up a few grand to cover their bills in advance. I'd kind of do that, but based on when I'm moving house, so I'd get a few grand after the deposit, so then I can pay the mortgage for a few months while I'm still, moving and maintaining and growing the business. Because, actually just even moving the business, I mean, holy crap, that would take... That's going to take a long time, because it's not necessarily just moving it, it's actually organising it, from this house, and then actually reorganising it at the new house, and, putting it all out, and, getting all the shelves sorted. I mean, that's going to take a couple of weeks, really, to get all the shelves sorted, get everything, because I've got a lot of stock. I mean, I've got a lot of stock. I've literally got 3 rooms full, so that's how much I've got. A lot, a lot. So, not loads compared to maybe someone who's been doing this 10 years, but I've grown quite a lot in the last 4 years. So then I've got all that to organise, and that's going to take a few weeks, and then I'm going to be thinking, well, oh god, that might set my income off, it might sort of lower my income, so then I've got to account for that. So you see what I mean? There's all these different things. So I'm thinking, if I give it that kind of year, then I've got a safety net of money that then I can obviously use to essentially kind of cover the time that I'm moving and I'm setting back up, and I even maybe need a little bit of a break for a few days because of all the big move. It's very stressful and everything. So yeah, I don't know, but that's something that I've been thinking of doing. Anyway, surely being ranked. Oh, it's jumped. Sorry, it's jumped. 1 sec. Oh god, it's gone up, gone down a lot. Sorry, I've got to go all... Oh my god, I've got to go all this way back up. Sorry. I was just going to read out that comment and it's gone. Ah, there. Surely being ranked in the search has part of why you sell your items. The Cassini algorithm is a big influence on your item even being seen. I don't know whether that's just being chatted in the... Just being talked about in the chat, I don't know. But I would imagine, yeah, if you're ranked in the search... is a part of why your items would sell, certainly. I would say so. Right, there's a bit of chat, so I'll just scroll down a bit. I'm really behind, so I apologise. Ads with a job, oh dear, if his single goes viral, then ads will will know, won't be there. Well, I've got a bit of a backup plan actually, because I was thinking, right, if I learn like loads of different things like Photoshop and Premiere Pro and stuff like that, if I can learn them to a decent level, then I can actually get, like, I can do freelance work and anything, like, you know, other things anyway. So if I actually, because I'm not very good with Photoshop at the moment, I can do basic stuff obviously, but you know, I still need a lot of learning on it. But if I can get that to a certain level, then I can actually do freelance work, so I won't need a proper job anyway. So I've got this like it's weird because all these different things I'm trying to do are gonna help me in a way anyway, you know. So I didn't intentionally do Photoshop in that respect, or I didn't intentionally do learn editing for that effect, but it might give that effect, because I just really don't know whether I'm going to be suited for a regular job. Because I mean, can you imagine, like, you know how I am on here, like, could you imagine me going into a work and getting told off and stuff like that and shouted at? I just wouldn't. I'd just walk out. I'd be like, I can't do this. I've been used to being my own boss. I tell myself off, you know, well, figuratively speaking. But, you know, like, I tell myself off, so why should I be getting told off by you? I should be the one telling you off, if anything. So, I don't know, when you've been reselling a little while, it starts to become apparent that it's going to be hard to go into a regular job. And also, just a personality I am, I just think people, like, when they look at my videos and when they see on my YouTube how I am, I think they may understand that I've kind of not got that mentality for a self-employed job, because I'm just like I'm more of a creative, I'm more of a person who does their own thing, I'm more of a person who likes to do things on their own, you know, likes to essentially be their own person, like do everything themselves, not have to rely on anyone else. So in that respect, I mean, maybe something like I don't know, some sort of work, some sort of job that would be, you know, casual wear, and that would be a bit more of a creative job might be for me. I don't know, but certainly not an office job. Certainly not something like that. I couldn't do it, I don't think. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who do it, you know, and that's brilliant, but it's just not for me, you know. September was bloody awful for me. Yeah, it was okay for me, but not brilliant. I moved out of my parents when I was 18. We had no money but lived cheaply till we saved up our deposit, and at 24 we bought our own first house. Wow, there must have been a lot of hard work with that, Tom, as well, over those few years. October has been great so far. Yeah, I have to say it's been pretty good for me as well. I don't. It's odd because I don't often say, you know, like you know, people say, oh my God, Q4's coming, and you know, it's like 1st of October, everything's going to go mad or whatever. Yeah, well, I've heard a few people say it anyway. But, and it is generally people who are less experienced than more experienced resellers. The more experienced resellers are just like, yeah, well, it's not really going to get really going till, you know, mid-November. But, you know, that's how I always think. But, to be honest, it started quite well, you know, like 1st, 2nd, 3rd of... What are we on now? 4? Yeah, 1st, 2nd, 3rd of October. It's been pretty decent, you know, it's been good, you know, it's not been too... you know, it's not been slow or anything, it's been quite steady. I did 139 yesterday, so 140 quid, so I was happy with that. You know, that's pretty decent, because most of the year has been so up and down, you know, it's been so like, ooh, you know, ooh, up and down. So, yeah, I was quite happy with that. And then I think the day before I did about 100, something like that, nothing major, but it's steady, it's doing, you know, it's alright. And then once we get to November, December, that'll be where it really kicks in, because I've got all that Lego to go in. I actually need to do a video on that when I'm getting it all out. I'm going to do like a proper video with all the boxes laid out on my bed and like, oh my God, how much stuff there is. It's going to be a cool video. But yeah, anyway, I'll quickly go down. I will be starting a live stream after ads has finished, just to test my connection out. If a few people could join that for a few minutes, won't take long. I will try and remember Tap Peddler after I've finished them. We're not far off done now, actually. Ads, you are doing well for your age. Just take my advice and stay at your mum's and save as much as you can. It's bloody hard out there. If I had the chance, I would have done it at a younger age. Yeah, a lot of people kind of say that. I mean, I know that, I don't know from personal experience, obviously, but I know from a lot of people telling me, like, how, you know, the expenses and how hard it is and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'm gonna try and have a solid plan and attack it in a good way, because I want to make sure that when I'm moved out, I'm solid, I'm happy, I'm stable, and I'm not overly stressed as well, because that's another important factor, is being too stressed. Because if I'm too stressed, I won't get the work done, I'll burn out, and then end up having to come home or something, as I mentioned anyway. So I need to make sure that I'm on that stable wavelength to, and I've got the money, you know, to cover me for a few months beforehand, you know. So anyway, quickly have a look down the chat still. I've got so much. Yes, I'd stay at home and save. I had to move out at 18 with a baby and had no money. Literally started with nothing and worked up to where I am now. Well, you've done really, really well to get to where you are now, George. Amazingly. Oh, where are we in the chat? Wow, there's so much chat today. Lex is in there. Hi there, Lex. Whoa, it's jumped to... Oh my god. Bloody hell, there's even more chat now. I used to do part-time work, working with kids aged 4 to 11 for a few hours in morn, 7:30 AM till 9 AM, then 2:30 PM till 6. So, like the hours, now at home a lot. It's gonna be hard when I get another job. I suppose so. I suppose, like, if you're looking for a job and stuff, it can be, and you've had a lot of time at home, it can be kind of, I suppose it's a bit of a shock, you know, like when you go, I mean, I don't really know this because I've only ever had one job, but, you know, like, I suppose it's a similar feeling as after the summer holidays have ended and then you have to go back and, oh, you know, but it might be a bit more intense than that, I'm not sure, but, yeah, so did you work at, like, a sort of a before and after school club? Because I used to, when I was younger, I used to go to, like, an after school club. I used to hate it. It was so funny because I actually got kicked out of the after school club. I've never told this story to anyone, but essentially we used to get free was it 1 biscuit, 2 biscuits, or 3 biscuits? I don't know. But we'd get a glass of squash and we'd get a couple of biscuits. And I always used to moan because I'd be like, in my head, I'd be like, we should get more biscuits than this. I was only like year 4, year 5, year 6 or whatever. But I was like, I want more biscuits than this. It's not fair. And then I would get really naughty because I'd not had enough to eat after school. And then like when we were all playing games, I used to like destroy people's games and stuff. And you know, like when we were playing Jenga, I'd like tipple it over and stuff. And I really didn't want to be there. It was apparent, you know, when a child like becomes like that, it just shows, you know, you just really don't want to be there. And you know, I had conversations with the woman, and then my mum had conversations with my mum and stuff. But I remember, I think it was like year 6 when I left there, something like that, maybe year 5, something like that. Anyway, but I basically started going around my friend's house, and it was so good when I was going back around my friend's house. They live like right near to me, but I was terrible after school club. And again, I think it's this thing of, you know, working for someone else as well. I've never liked, every time, like in high school, in in the before and after school club, in primary school, just everything. I've hated the idea of living by someone else's rules. I just do not like. I just don't get on well with it because I think, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that? There's a better way to do this. There's a better way to do that, and you just think, well, you know, why do, you know, what's the point, you know? And then I just get a bit annoyed, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing this anyway. Or what I do, here's my adult trick, right? I'll nod my head and I'll say, yeah, that's brilliant, mate. Yeah, I'll take that advice. Yeah, really good, yeah. And if I have no intention to take the advice, I'll still do that. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it my own way. It's like on Photoshop and other stuff. I'm gonna refer to Photoshop again. But there's this thing called the pen tool, right? and you use it to cut out a person. So as you can see in my thumbnail there on, well you can't see this actually, I can see it, but my figure of me has been cut out of another background on another photograph and then put on the background that you see on the thumbnail. So the way you can do that is use this pen tool and you can cut it all out, and the pen tool is probably the most efficient way of doing that, right? But me being me, I didn't like using the pen tool. I don't mind it now, but I didn't like using the pen tool, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and find my own way of doing this. So then I found what's known as the lasso tool, the L-A-S-S-O, and I think it's called the poly lasso tool, which you do the same thing as the pen tool, but for whatever reason, I prefer that. So, you know, everyone says, oh, use the pen tool, it's brilliant, but I'm like, no, I can't bother using that. I like the lasso tool. The reason I like the lasso tool opposed to the pen tool is because it does a similar thing, but with the pen tool you have to hold down Alt while you're doing it, and it does cut the, you know, in fairness, the pen tool does cut the image better, and it is a better tool to use. But I can use the lasso tool a lot quicker, and if I can do it quicker, then that means that I'm getting the job done faster. If there's a few rough edges and stuff, I'm not bothered about that, it's fine. So, you know, I cut it out and I'm like, right, I'm doing that, I'm doing it my way, I'm doing it that way. And again, this comes back to your comparison and your own journey thing. You know, just do it your way, do the way that suits you better. There's loads of people who will tell you, oh, do it this way because it's the best way of doing it. Maybe the best way of doing it, but you might find another way of doing it, maybe just a little bit easier or a bit quicker, and you know, then you start doing that way. It might be the best way for them, or it might be the best way for most people, but it might not be the best way for you, so you end up doing things differently. But anyway, I'll just quickly go down the chat and then we will wrap this up because we're getting to an hour now. Monday, has anyone noticed how, yes, Saturday nights are terrible. But yeah, Saturdays in general for me, over the last, like, I don't know, like 8 weeks, like 2 months or 3 months, they are appalling Saturday. I don't know what's happened, because it used to be Saturday and Sunday, brilliant. Sunday night, like, awesome. Sunday night's still okay, but I suppose if you're running auctions and stuff, then it is really, really good on Sunday nights. But if you're doing buy it now, Sunday nights can sometimes be a bit hit or miss now. But yeah, Saturday definitely is, yeah, it's just, for me, it's just really terrible. Ads, that's like 95% of my day. What, of like telling people how to do it your way? Oh, it's brilliant. Not gonna sedate them. Not gonna sedate them, what the hell? Gonna sedate. Oh, right. Will the kids be shouting later, Steve, when you're like, nah, gonna sedate? Oh, that's very funny. God, you better watch what you're saying on this chat. Right then. Yeah, being employed, you're making your boss rich while doing 10 times as much work, stressing, impact on your health and everything. Yeah, that's like, I mean, that's the big one for me as well. Like, it's funny because the money that I earn from reselling, I completely 100% class as my own. And this is quite funny actually, because it goes against kind of what you're saying there, Sean, a little bit, but it's because I was maybe younger. But when I was working and I was doing a part-time job, when I used to get my wages every week, they'd come into my bank account and I'd be thinking, I don't really know if that's my money, you know, and this is a weird thought. It's very, very weird because completely it is your money, you've earned it. But for me, I would get that money and I'd think, yeah, but I don't know whether that's completely my money. And the reason why I thought that was because I didn't understand my job. Like, when I was at the auction house, I didn't understand, I understood my job to the extent that I could do it, but I didn't really understand like all the inner workings and the grand process of why we're doing that. Why are we processing those boxes, putting them out, doing the lots, people buying them? Great. I just thought, you know, it's just a kind of process. But now I'm a reseller, I know exactly why porters do those jobs. They do those jobs to put the lots out, to then make a sale up, so that then the dealers can buy them and make money on them, right? And then obviously the auction house makes money in that and all the rest of it. And yeah, they'll probably toss a load of crap in there about, oh, isn't it brilliant discovering all these antiques and stuff, but really all they're on about is the money. Anyway, so because I didn't understand it, I didn't feel like that those wages were completely mine, because I didn't understand why I was doing the work and what, where that money came from particularly. I kind of understood it to a basic level. Obviously, I knew the auction, I had made money from the auctions, but I didn't understand it to the extent I understand it now as a reseller, because I've got a different perspective. So now I start to think to myself, when I'm earning my money, when I'm putting something on eBay, paid £1 for it, flipped it for 12 quid, maybe made 6 quid net profit, something like that. I then see that in my PayPal, I see the postage money go off it, I see the PayPal fees go off it, and I say, right, there's my 6 quid. Then what I might do at the end of each month, transfer a little bit to my bank, a few hundred quid to my bank, and then I think, right, that is categorically my money. Whatever I do with it is my prerogative, and I really do feel now with reselling opposed to my job that is my money. And the reason I feel that a lot more is because I've done every single process to get that money. When I was in the auction house, I was only doing one process, which is the actually formulating of lots, putting lots together. I wasn't doing the accounting, I wasn't doing the handling of the money, I wasn't doing all the rest of it, I wasn't doing the appraising of the antiques or, evaluation of them or anything. I have to be on a level where I'm kind of I understand the entire business before I can start to say, right, that's my money. Because if I understand that I've done everything in the business and the business is me, then I start to think to myself, right, I personally have earned that money, and that money is mine solely, and it's going where I want it to go to. If I want it to go on crap, it can go on crap. If I want it to go into investments, it can go into investments. If I want it to go into savings account or whatever, it can do that. But that is the way my brain works. I have to feel like I've got a round overview of all the processes in a business before I can start, and my influence in that, and then I can start to think, right, that's where it all that's the flow of the business, and that's where my money's coming from, and I've done X amount of work to get that money. Then I can start thinking, right, that money is mine. But you try and do that in a normal job, a 9-to-5 job, you try and look at the entirety of the business, you're going to end up taking control to too much of an extent, more than you're supposedly worth by the bosses, and then they're going to fire you because you're just being a complete nuisance and you're getting involved in everything, and they'll find some way of firing you, and then you're gone. And that is the reason that I'm more better for self-employed mentality, because that's the overall way I like to deal with things. I like to know everything. I like to account for everything. So anyway, we'll leave it there. I rambled a lot today. I've probably not seen everything in the chat, so I apologise. If you have any questions that haven't been answered, or that you have any more questions that you're thinking of putting in the chat box in the next few minutes, go over to my Instagram and message me directly on Instagram, and then what I can do is obviously write those down and put them for next week, for the start of next week. If you do not have Instagram, just drop a comment down below in the YouTube comments. I just say Instagram because I like connecting with people and chatting with people on there. I love doing the direct messaging and stuff. It's really cool. And then you get to learn a little bit more about people as well. So if you want to do that, you can do that, or you can just drop a comment down below. I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you for joining me, as always, and putting up with my ramblings again this week. And I will see you in the next one. So I'll see you very soon, guys. And yeah, we now have this awkward little bit, as usual, where I try and find the little stop streaming button. Ah, there it is. Right, okay. See you, guys.